revealing the footage history left behind. You are watching Bodycam Story Vault. The investigation begins.
What's the issue, sir?
I just landed.
We're conducting operations in this area. I need to see proof of citizenship.
This is my U.S. passport. I'm an American citizen. What's this about?
This could be fake. We've seen forgeries before. Where are you coming from?
That's classified.
You're being detained until we can verify your identity, sir.
The debrief was scheduled for 9 a.m. at CIA headquarters in Langley. 3 years of continuous overseas assignments. Missions in hostile territory. Intelligence gathered. Assets extracted. Operations conducted in places the public would never know about. Operations Officer Marcus Cole had just landed at Dulles on a commercial flight. Cover story intact, luggage minimal, vehicle waiting in long-term parking. He was 2 hours and 13 minutes from walking into the most classified spaces in American intelligence when IC agent Tyler Brannigan stopped him in the parking garage and demanded proof of citizenship. Cole showed his passport. Brannigan called it fake. Cole offered verification. Brannigan refused. Cole warned him. Brannigan didn't listen. The handcuffs went on at 6:52 a.m. The unmarked vehicles from Langley arrived at 7:15 a.m. The debrief happened at 9 a.m. as scheduled, but the first item on the agenda wasn't the overseas mission. It was explaining to the director of operations why one of his officers had been detained in an airport parking garage for the crime of returning home while black. $7.2 million. And a debrief that would include testimony before Congress about what happens when federal agents can't see past skin color. The Dulles long-term parking garage stretched across multiple levels of concrete and fluorescent light. Rows of vehicles waiting for travelers to return. The particular anonymity of an airport structure where no one looked twice at anyone. Marcus Cole had parked his Audi A6 here 3 years ago. The battery had been maintained by the agency's logistics team, standard protocol for officers on extended overseas rotations. The car would start. The drive to Langley would take 47 minutes. The debrief would begin on schedule. 14 years in the Central Intelligence Agency's Directorate of Operations. The National Clandestine Service. The officers who went places that didn't officially exist, gathered intelligence that was never attributed, conducted operations that governments denied. Before the agency, 8 years U.S. Army Special Forces. Green Beret. 3 combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Bronze Star with Valor for actions during an ambush outside Fallujah. Purple Heart for shrapnel wounds received extracting a wounded teammate. Howard University. Georgetown School of Foreign Service. 6 languages fluent. Arabic, Farsi, French, Russian, Spanish, Mandarin. The kind of linguistic capability that allowed an officer to disappear into any environment, become anyone necessary, survive in places where Americans were hunted. They called him Ghost at Langley. The officer who could infiltrate, extract, and vanish without a trace. 23 countries across the Middle East, Africa, and Eastern Europe. Missions that would remain classified for decades. The Intelligence Star, the agency's second highest honor, for a mission that had extracted 3 American assets from hostile territory when extraction was considered impossible. The Distinguished Intelligence Cross, for valor during an operation in Syria that had prevented an attack whose details would never be public. This morning, he wore civilian clothes. Charcoal peacoat, black turtleneck, dark jeans, the attire of the business consultant his cover story required. His carry-on luggage sat at his feet, minimal, professional, the kind of bag that raised no questions at customs. He had cleared immigration 37 minutes ago. U.S. passport, legitimate entry, nothing unusual. Now he stood beside his vehicle, key fob in hand, ready to complete the final leg of a journey that had started in a location he would never name. The 2 agents approached from the elevator bank. Olive tactical vests, 10 cargo pants, black boots, ICE insignia visible on their shoulders. Cole noticed them before they noticed him. The particular awareness that 14 years of operating in hostile environments had made instinctive. They were scanning the garage, looking for something, looking for someone. Their eyes found him. Agent Tyler Brannigan changed direction. His partner followed, positioning himself at an angle that would later provide a second bodycam perspective. "Morning, sir. Mind if we have a word?" Cole's hand paused on his car door. "What's the issue, sir?" "I just landed." Brannigan stopped 4 feet from Cole. His posture carried the aggressive certainty of someone who had already decided what he was looking at. "We're conducting operations in this area. I need to see proof of citizenship. Cole's expression remained neutral, the composure of a man who had talked his way out of situations where the wrong answer meant death. This is my U.S. passport. I'm an American citizen. What's this about? He produced the passport from his interior pocket. Dark blue cover. Gold lettering. Department of State seal. The document that confirmed he was exactly who he appeared to be. Brannigan took it. He examined it with theatrical suspicion, holding it to the light, flipping through the pages, studying the photo. This could be fake. We've seen forgeries before. That's a legitimate U.S. passport. Issued 3 years ago. Valid for another 7. Where are you coming from? The question landed in the concrete acoustics of the parking garage. Cole's answer was the only one he could give. That's classified. Brannigan's face shifted. His partner's body cam captured the reaction, the particular expression of someone whose script had just been disrupted. Classified. Classified. I'm a federal employee. My travel is documented through appropriate channels. What agency? That's also classified. You can't just say classified and expect me to accept it. I'm not asking you to accept it. I'm asking you to verify it through proper channels. There are numbers you can call. Brannigan handed the passport back, not returning it, dismissing it as insufficient. I don't call numbers that suspects give me. I'm not a suspect. I'm an American citizen who just cleared customs 37 minutes ago. CBP has my entry on record. My passport was scanned. My face was photographed. Everything is documented. CBP makes mistakes. They didn't make a mistake with me. How do I know that? Because I'm standing here telling you. Because my passport is valid. Because I have nothing to hide except information that my job requires me to protect. Brannigan's partner had positioned himself to the side. His body cam, Axon Body 2, timestamp 6 hours 47 minutes and 33 seconds, captured both men and the Audi behind them. Sir, you fit the description of individuals we're investigating. What description? That's operational information. There is no description, is there? You saw a black man in a parking garage and decided that was suspicious enough. Your luggage has foreign tags. Because I just returned from overseas. On a legitimate trip. For legitimate purposes. Which I've already explained I can't discuss. Everyone has a story. This isn't a story. This is the truth. Verify it. Cole looked at the partner. At his body cam. At the parking garage cameras mounted at intervals along the ceiling. What's your name? Agent Martinez. Agent Martinez, your partner is making a significant mistake. I'm giving both of you the opportunity to correct it before this becomes a federal incident. Brannigan stepped closer. The only federal incident here is whatever you're hiding. I'm not hiding anything. I'm protecting classified information, which I am legally required to do. There's a difference. From where I'm standing, there isn't. Then you're standing in the wrong place. Cole reached slowly into his coat pocket. I'm going to give you a phone number. You can call it. They will verify my identity and my employment. This can be resolved in 5 minutes. I don't take numbers from suspects. Then we have a problem. Because I can't tell you where I work. I can only offer verification. You're being detained until we can verify your identity. Cole's expression shifted. The composure remained, but something beneath it hardened. Call your supervisor. You don't want to do this. I'm giving you a warning. Professional to professional. What you're about to do will end your career. Cole's voice carried the particular calm of someone who had delivered warnings in situations far more dangerous than this. Warnings to asset handlers who had been compromised. Warnings to enemy operatives who didn't know they were already dead. I don't take warnings from people I'm detaining. You're not detaining me yet. You're considering it. I'm telling you not to. Why? Because you're classified? Because my phone call doesn't go to a lawyer. It goes to people who will be here in under 30 minutes with credentials that will make you wish you had listened. Brannigan's face flushed. Martinez's body cam captured it. The reaction of someone whose authority was being challenged. That sounds like a threat. It's not a threat. It's a prediction. I've been making predictions for 14 years. I'm very good at it. 14 years of what? Of serving this country in ways you can't imagine. Of going places you've never heard of. Of protecting people who will never know my name. He let the words settle. I grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. My mother was a nurse at Kings County Hospital for 35 years. My father drove trains for NYC Transit for 30 years. My grandfather served in the Korean War with the 24th Infantry Regiment, the last all-black unit in the Army. He gestured to the passport still in Brannigan's hand. 4 generations of American service. And you're standing in a parking garage asking me to prove I belong in my own country. Everyone has a family history. Not everyone has mine. Not everyone has done what I've done. Not everyone has the phone numbers I have. Martinez spoke for the first time, quietly, directed at his partner. Tyler, maybe we should verify. We'll verify at the field office. He's offering a number. It takes 5 minutes. And if the number's fake? If it goes to an accomplice? No. We do this by the book. Cole looked at Martinez. At his body cam. At the doubt visible in his posture. Your partner is about to make you complicit in a civil rights violation against a federal intelligence officer. When that happens, and it will happen, your participation will be examined. Your silence will be scrutinized. Your career will be collateral damage. Sir, you're just following orders. That's what everyone says afterward. Brannigan reached for his handcuffs. Turn around. Hands behind your back. I'm documenting this for all recording devices present. I am Operations Officer Marcus Cole. I am a federal employee returning from an overseas assignment. I have shown valid U.S. passport credentials. I have offered verification through official channels. Both have been refused. Turn around. You're about to detain a CIA officer in an airport parking garage. My debrief at Langley is scheduled for 9 a.m. When I don't arrive, people will start looking. CIA. Brannigan's tone carried disbelief that the body cam captured clearly. Right. And I'm the director of the FBI. You're not. But you're about to meet people who know him. Brannigan grabbed Cole's arm. Last warning. That was your last warning. You chose not to take it. Cole turned. His hands moved behind his back. The compliance of a man who had been trained to survive captivity, who knew that restraints were temporary, who understood that the cameras were his allies. The handcuffs clicked around his wrists. You just made the worst mistake of your career. We'll see about that. Yes, we will. The metal was cold against Cole's wrists. Standard restraints. The same kind used by law enforcement worldwide. He had slipped out of worse in training exercises. He had been bound by professionals who actually knew what they were doing. This wasn't a professional operation. This was 2 agents who had decided a black man in a parking garage required investigation. I need to make a phone call. You'll make your call at the field office. I need to make it now. There are people expecting me. They can wait. They can't wait. And neither can you. Once they realize I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Brannigan led him toward the IC vehicle parked near the elevator bank. A white Dodge Durango with federal plates. The transport that was supposed to take him to a field office for processing. Cole walked calmly. His training had prepared him for worse than this. The missions that had earned his decorations had involved actual hostiles, not bureaucrats with badges and bad judgment. But this would be documented. This would be investigated. This would have consequences that Brannigan couldn't imagine. My phone is in my right coat pocket. I need to make one call. You're not making any calls. Detainees have the right to notify someone of their detention. At the field office. The field office will be too late. For you. They reached the Durango. Martinez opened the back door. The interior camera began recording. Another angle on an encounter that was already documented from multiple perspectives. Get in. I'm cooperating under duress with what I believe to be an unlawful detention. I want that statement preserved. Noted. Cole didn't get in. He stood at the door, hands cuffed behind his back, and looked at Brannigan with an expression that had made trained intelligence operatives reconsider their choices. I'm going to give you one more opportunity. Let me make one phone call. 60 seconds. If the person who answers can't verify my identity, I'll cooperate fully. I don't negotiate with detainees. You're not negotiating. You're making a decision that will determine the rest of your career. Take the phone call. Brannigan hesitated. Martinez's body cam captured the pause, the fraction of a second where judgment wavered. Then it hardened. Get in the vehicle. Your choice. Cole climbed into the Durango. The door closed behind him. The vehicle's interior camera captured his face. Calm, composed, the expression of a man who had already calculated the outcome and found it favorable. Brannigan got in the driver's seat. Martinez took the passenger side. We're transporting one male individual to the field office for identity verification. Claimed to be federal employee. Refused to provide verifiable credentials. The radio crackled acknowledgement. Sir. Cole's voice came from the back seat. My phone is going to ring in approximately 3 minutes. When I don't answer, certain protocols are activated. Those protocols involve people you really don't want to meet. I'm sure. I'm not exaggerating. My agency has procedures for when officers go dark. Those procedures escalate quickly. We'll explain the situation. You won't have to. They'll know the situation the moment they track my phone to this vehicle. Brannigan pulled out of the parking space. 3 minutes. Starting now. The Durango moved toward the garage exit, toward the field office, toward what Brannigan thought would be a routine processing. At 7:01 a.m., Cole's phone rang in his coat pocket. He couldn't answer. At 7:04 a.m., his location was flagged. At 7:08 a.m., 2 unmarked vehicles departed from Langley. The drive to Dulles took 23 minutes. They would arrive at 7:15 a.m. Brannigan had no idea what was coming. The CIA's Office of Security maintained protocols for situations exactly like this. When Operations Officer Marcus Cole missed his scheduled check-in window, the automated ping that confirmed he had cleared customs and was en route to Langley, his status was flagged. When his phone went to voicemail 3 times in succession, the flag elevated to concern. When his GPS showed movement away from Dulles in a pattern inconsistent with driving to headquarters, concern became response. Special Agent Diana Reeves was the duty officer that morning. 15 years with the agency's protective services. The kind of officer who handled problems before they became crises. She tracked Cole's phone to a vehicle moving east on the Dulles Access Road. Not his vehicle. Not a vehicle registered to any agency cover. She ran the plates. ICE. Field Enforcement Unit. We have a problem. Her supervisor was on the line in 30 seconds. What kind of problem? Ghost missed his check-in. His phone is in an ICE vehicle heading toward their Fairfax field office. Silence. Then, Ghost is in ICE custody? That's what it looks like. He just got back from 3 years overseas. He has a debrief with the director in 2 hours. I'm aware. Get him out. Now. 2 vehicles departed Langley at 7:08 a.m. Black Suburbans with tinted windows and government plates that didn't trace to any public database. For officers from the CIA's Office of Security, the people who handled situations that required immediate resolution and absolute discretion. Reeves made one additional call. The chief of the Counterterrorism Center, Cole's direct supervisor, the man who had sent him on 3 years of missions that had gathered intelligence critical to national security. Chief, we have a situation. Ghost is in ICE custody at Dulles. In custody for what? Unknown. But his debrief is at 0900. Whatever happened, we need to resolve it fast. I'm calling the director. Get our people there now. At 7:12 a.m., the director of the National Clandestine Service was informed that one of his most decorated officers had been detained by ICE in a parking garage. At 7:14 a.m., the director picked up a phone that connected directly to the Department of Homeland Security's leadership. At 7:15 a.m., the 2 black Suburbans arrived at the Dulles long-term parking garage, where the ICE Durango was still processing paperwork before transporting Cole to the field office. Reeves stepped out of the lead vehicle. Her credentials were already in her hand. The garage cameras captured her approach. Brannigan had just finished documenting the detention. Cole remained in the back of the Durango, hands still cuffed, expression still calm. Which one of you is in charge here? Brannigan turned. He saw the Suburbans, the officers emerging from them, the credentials being displayed. Ma'am, this is an IC enforcement matter. This is a CIA officer you have in custody. My officer, returning from a classified overseas assignment. He claimed to be. He is. Operations Officer Marcus Cole. 14 years with the Directorate of Operations. Intelligence Star. Distinguished Intelligence Cross. And you have him in handcuffs. She produced her phone, held it up so Brannigan could see the screen. This is the call that's currently happening between the Director of the National Clandestine Service and the Secretary of Homeland Security. They're discussing your future. Brannigan's face had gone pale. Martinez looked like he wanted to disappear into the concrete. Open the vehicle. Release my officer. Now. I need to verify. You had the opportunity to verify. You refused. Multiple times. Officer Cole offered you phone numbers. You dismissed them. He showed you his passport. You called it fake. He warned you. You ignored him. She stepped closer. Open the vehicle. The Durango's back door opened. Cole stepped out, hands still cuffed behind his back. His expression hadn't changed, the same calm composure that had carried him through worse situations in worse places. Diana. Marcus. Sorry about the delay. 23 minutes. Not bad. Would have been faster, but traffic on 267. Reeves turned to Brannigan. Keys. Now. I need to. You need to uncuff a CIA officer who you detained for walking through a parking garage. Keys. Brannigan's hands trembled as he produced the handcuff key. He approached Cole slowly, the posture of someone who had just realized exactly how badly he had miscalculated. The cuffs came off. Cole brought his arms forward, rolled his shoulders, rubbed his wrists. Agent Brannigan. Cole's voice carried the particular calm that came after crisis. I told you this would end badly for you. Sir, You were just conducting enforcement operations. You were just asking for proof of citizenship. You were just detaining someone who fit a description. He stepped closer. I've spent 14 years in places you can't imagine, doing things you'll never know about, protecting people who will never thank me. I speak 6 languages. I've operated in 23 countries. I've extracted American assets when extraction was considered impossible. He held up his wrists, where the handcuff marks were still visible. And you detained me in a parking garage because I'm black. That's exactly what it was. There was no description. There was no intelligence. There was a black man with foreign luggage tags, and you decided that was enough. Reeves had been on the phone throughout the exchange. She lowered it now. Agent Brannigan, Agent Martinez. You are both to remain here until officials from the DHS Office of Inspector General arrive. Your bodycam footage is being preserved. Your vehicle's interior camera footage is being preserved. Your phones are being confiscated pending investigation. You can't. The Secretary of Homeland Security just authorized it. Phones. Now. Both agents surrendered their devices. The particular defeat of officers who had thought they were in control and discovered otherwise. Cole retrieved his luggage from beside his Audi. His keys were still in his pocket. They hadn't been confiscated. My debrief is at 9. Chief Patterson extended it to 10. Figured you might want to clean up first. Thoughtful of him. He also wants a full report on this incident. Before the classified portion. He'll have it. Cole opened his car door. Paused. Looked at Brannigan one final time. You asked me where I was coming from. I told you it was classified. That's the only answer I can give, even now. But I'll tell you this much. I was doing something that protects this country. Something that required 3 years of my life, in places that would have killed me if I made mistakes. He gestured to the parking garage around them. And I came home to this. To an agent who looked at my passport and called it fake. Who heard classified and heard suspicious. Who saw a black man and saw a target. He got in the car. The next time someone shows you credentials you don't recognize, verify them. Don't assume. Don't dismiss. Verify. The engine started. The Audi pulled out of the space. That's the only advice I can give you. Take it or don't. But you're going to have a lot of time to think about it. He drove toward the exit. Toward Langley. Toward a debrief that would now include explaining how one of the agency's most decorated officers had been detained in a parking garage for the crime of returning home while black. The investigation would follow. The consequences would be severe. And Marcus Cole had a meeting to attend. The investigation moved with the velocity reserved for cases involving intelligence community officers. FBI counterintelligence, because a CIA officer had been detained in a manner that could have compromised classified information. DHS Office of Inspector General, because ICE agents had conducted an unlawful stop under color of federal authority. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, because the pattern that emerged was impossible to ignore. The bodycam footage was secured first. Both agents' recordings. The Durango's interior camera. The parking garage's security system. Every angle documented. Agent Tyler Brannigan had accumulated 17 complaints in 11 years. Discriminatory conduct. Harassment. Pretextual stops. Failure to follow verification protocols. 14 had been dismissed through internal review. 3 had resulted in written reprimands. The pattern was visible in the data. His enforcement operations consistently targeted black and brown travelers in affluent airport settings. Dulles. Reagan National. BWI. Professional attire. High-end luggage. The people who looked like they didn't match Brannigan's expectations. 31 prior stops over 6 years. 28 involved minority travelers. 0 had resulted in any immigration enforcement action. Every single one had been released after verification proved they were legitimate. Tourists, business travelers, government employees, American citizens. His social media accounts completed the picture. Posts about anchor babies and diversity visas. Comments celebrating immigration raids. Membership in online groups where federal agents shared strategies for efficient enforcement. The sanitized language for profiling. Text messages to fellow agents revealed the casual racism that had made Cole an easy target. Got another suspicious one at Dulles. Fancy clothes, foreign tags. Classic overstay profile. These people think a suit makes them American. Easy day. Picked up 2 possibles in long-term parking. Both turned out legal, but you never know until you check. The irony was bitter. Cole's work had protected the country from actual threats. Brannigan's enforcement had harassed innocent travelers while claiming to do the same. Agent Martinez was interviewed separately. His cooperation determined whether he would face the same charges. Did you believe Officer Cole's credentials were legitimate? I wasn't sure. He said he was classified. Did you suggest verification? Yes. Tyler refused. Did you attempt to verify independently? No. Why not? He was the senior agent. I followed his lead. When the CIA arrived and confirmed Officer Cole's identity, what went through your mind? Silence. Agent Martinez? I knew we had made a terrible mistake. I knew Tyler had made mistakes before. I should have stopped it. The investigation expanded beyond the single incident. ICE's enforcement patterns at major airports. The complaint histories of agents like Brannigan. The systemic failure to address documented bias. Cole provided testimony that was carefully managed by the agency's legal team. Certain details remained classified. His overseas assignment was referenced only in the most general terms. But the core facts were clear. A decorated intelligence officer had been detained for walking through a parking garage. I've spent my career protecting this country from threats the public never sees, Cole stated in his deposition. I've operated in hostile territory. I've extracted assets from impossible situations. I've been shot at, surveilled, and hunted by professionals. He paused. None of that prepared me for being handcuffed by an American officer for the crime of coming home. The federal grand jury convened 8 weeks after the incident. The charges, deprivation of rights under color of law, false imprisonment, civil rights violations. The trial was scheduled for federal court in the Eastern District of Virginia, the same district that handled many national security cases. The evidence was comprehensive. The body cams, the garage cameras, the pattern of complaints, the text messages. Brannigan was indicted on all counts. Cole would testify. The federal courtroom in Alexandria presented challenges that most trials didn't face. The defendant had detained a CIA officer. The plaintiff's work was classified. The balance between justice and security required careful management. Cole testified in civilian clothes. No indication of his employer, no badges, no insignia. His identity as a CIA officer was acknowledged in general terms, but the specifics of his work remained protected. On the morning of March 15th, I returned from an overseas assignment. I landed at Dulles International Airport on a commercial flight, cleared customs without incident, and proceeded to the long-term parking garage to retrieve my vehicle. What happened in the parking garage? Agent Brannigan approached me and demanded proof of citizenship. Did you provide identification? I showed him my U.S. passport. Valid. Legitimate. Issued by the State Department. What was his response? He said it could be fake. He asked where I was coming from. What did you tell him? I told him it was classified. Because it was. My travel was documented through appropriate government channels, but the details are protected. How did Agent Brannigan respond to that? He dismissed it. He said he didn't accept classified as an answer. He refused to verify my identity through official channels. The bodycam footage was played for the jury. They watched Brannigan demand papers. They watched Cole show his passport. They watched the passport dismissed. They watched the handcuffs applied while Cole remained calm, composed, warning of consequences. Mr. Cole, what was going through your mind when you were handcuffed? I was thinking about what I had just returned from. 3 years of continuous operations. Missions that required every skill I had developed. And now I was in handcuffs in a parking garage, not because of anything I had done, but because of what I looked like. Can you tell the jury what you do for a living? I'm a federal employee in the intelligence community. The specific details of my work are classified. Without revealing classified information, can you describe the general nature of your service? I've spent 14 years conducting operations that protect American interests overseas. I've worked in 23 countries. I've received commendations for actions that can't be discussed publicly. And after 14 years of that service, you were detained in a parking garage. For looking suspicious. For fitting a description that didn't exist. For being a black man who answered questions in a way that didn't satisfy an agent who had already decided what he was looking at. The defense attempted the standard arguments. Good faith. Following training. No way to know. The prosecutor's rebuttal was surgical. No way to know. Officer Cole offered verification. He gave them phone numbers to call. He warned them, multiple times, that they were making a mistake. Agent Brannigan chose not to verify because he had already made his decision. A black man with a classified answer was suspicious enough. She displayed the stop records. 31 stops. 28 minorities. 0 enforcement actions. This wasn't immigration enforcement. This was profiling. And Officer Cole was victim 32, the first one who had the resources to fight back. The jury deliberated for 5 hours. Guilty on all counts. Brannigan sat motionless as the verdicts were read. His 11-year federal career had ended in a parking garage, undone by assumptions that decades of service to his country couldn't overcome. Cole watched from the gallery. The same composed expression he had maintained throughout the encounter. The same steel that had carried him through 23 countries and 3 years of continuous operations. Justice had been served. The classified work continued. The sentencing hearing brought attention that the case's classified nature had limited during the trial. The judge reviewed Brannigan's personnel file with visible disgust. Agent Brannigan, you were entrusted with the authority to enforce immigration law. Instead, you used that authority to harass, detain, and humiliate travelers based on their race. Your pattern of conduct spans years. Your targeting was systematic. Your dismissal of legitimate credentials was willful. She paused. When you detained Officer Cole, you didn't just violate his civil rights. You detained an intelligence officer returning from classified operations that protect this country. You endangered those operations through your actions. You demonstrated exactly the kind of prejudice that undermines everything federal law enforcement is supposed to represent. The sentence, 5 years federal prison. Enhanced for pattern of conduct. Enhanced for targeting a federal officer. Brannigan was led from the courtroom in handcuffs, the same restraints he had applied to Cole in a parking garage 7 months earlier. The civil settlement followed within 3 months. The Department of Homeland Security agreed to pay $7.2 million rather than face a trial that would expose systemic failures across multiple field offices. Cole's share was distributed through the agency's administrative channels. No public records, no attention, no trail. Standard protocol for officers whose identities required protection. What the public learned: substantial funds were donated to organizations supporting minority recruitment in federal law enforcement and intelligence. Scholarships established at Howard University and Georgetown. Programs funded at the FBI National Academy and the Farm. What the public didn't learn: where the funds came from or who had directed them there. ICE entered a consent decree requiring enhanced oversight of enforcement operations at major airports. Mandatory verification protocols. Civilian review of stop patterns. The systems that had allowed Brannigan to operate for 11 years would finally face scrutiny. Agent Martinez was terminated but not prosecuted. His cooperation had been valuable. His remorse appeared genuine. His failure had been passive rather than active. Cole returned to work the day after the verdict. The debrief that had been interrupted 7 months earlier was long complete. The intelligence gathered during his 3-year assignment had been analyzed, distributed, and acted upon. New operations awaited. New missions. New places where Americans weren't supposed to exist. The parking garage incident became a training case at Langley. Not for the clandestine tradecraft that officers learned, but for the awareness that returning home could sometimes be the most dangerous part of a mission. You can operate flawlessly in hostile territory, the instructor would say. You can build networks, extract assets, gather intelligence that shapes national policy. And you can still be detained in a parking garage because someone doesn't believe your passport is real. Cole attended the first session of that training. He didn't speak. Didn't need to. His presence was the lesson. 14 years of service. 23 countries. 6 languages. The Intelligence Star. The Distinguished Intelligence Cross. A Bronze Star and Purple Heart from his Army days. And 23 minutes in handcuffs because an agent saw skin color before credentials. He still parks in the dullest long-term garage when assignments require commercial travel. Same section, same routine, the same anonymity that operational security demands. The agents who patrol that garage now have different instructions, different protocols, different consequences for ignoring verification. Some of them know the story. Most don't. The details remain classified, along with everything else about operations, Officer Marcus Cole. But the lesson is public. $7.2 million worth of lesson. Some people you don't detain. Some credentials you don't dismiss. Some descriptions don't exist. And some officers, the ones who protect this country in ways no one will ever know, deserve better than being handcuffed for coming home. Ghost disappeared back into the work. New missions, new covers, new places where his skills were needed. The parking garage returned to normal. The pattern was broken. The cost was paid.
History always reveals its facts. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to remain in our secure vault.